Salut mon pote, comment ça va? When to use passé composé and when to use imparfait. This video is for you. If you know the theory, you know how to conjugate passé composé, you know how to conjugate imparfait, but you don't know when to use which and you mistake them in text. Okay? This is what we're going to cover today. It's a very interesting topic and I believe that I will be able to explain it to you in an easier way than what you may have been taught until now. Alright? If you want to take the best out of this video, you will need actually a pen and paper to do the exercises. Okay, fair enough, you might need your phone and I'm okay with this because you might need to check the translation of some words or definitely some participe passé. So let's say that two websites are allowed, like one translator and one conjugation website are allowed, but cut the notification and everything. Put the video in full screen mode to just be focused on the video and let's go. First of all, I will not review in great details passé composé and imparfait. I'm expecting you to already know it, but we're still going to review it a bit because I want it to be perfectly clear before checking when to use which. Okay? Let's go. C'est parti. But first, why is it so important? We use passé composé in France when we speak, when we write, when we text, when we talk to our friends, when we talk to our teachers, when we talk formally, informally, we use it all the time. However, you cannot only use passé composé because it gets things very mixed up if you don't mix it appropriately with imparfait. You need to use those two tenses. You need to know how to use them, when to use them, for you to be able to tell a story, to be able to say that something happened to you, to be able to describe your life and your past and these kind of things, okay? This is the detail of what we're going to cover today. But overall, it is absolutely impossible for you to express yourself properly in French if you don't know how to use both of them, all right? You cannot just stick to passé composé, it's impossible. So, first, quick reminder of passé composé. How does it work? As you know, passé composé, the structure looks like this. We have un sujet, un auxiliaire être ou avoir. Then we have what we call le participe passé, which is a verb, which is the action that I have done in the past, but put in a special form that we call participe passé. Par exemple, j'ai mangé une pomme. We have the sujet je, so it's me. The auxiliaire can be être ou avoir, here it's avoir, donc j'ai. Participe passé manger, very easy. The verb is manger, to eat. J'ai mangé quoi? J'ai mangé une pomme. I have eaten an apple. Very easy, very straightforward. Now, like I said, you can use two auxiliaires, avoir ou être. You use avoir in most cases, honestly, okay? For most verbs, you will use avoir. You will only use être in two cases. First one is for 17 verbs that usually we summarize into something that we call la maison d'être. I haven't made this picture, I stole it online from this website right here, okay? So here you have the list of the 17 verbs that you have to use l'auxiliaire être with when you conjugate them to passé composé. And we summarize them in la maison d'être because they kind of have in common to have verbs that are implying some kind of movement of evolution in time. So we summarize them like this, all right? I let you pause the video if you want to review them, but you should already be a bit familiar with them. And then we have another case that we have like here, les verbes pronominaux, all right? We're going to review this. So, like I said, we use avoir in most cases, like j'ai mangé une pomme. We use être for the list of 17 verbs that I just showed you. Par exemple, il est né le 23 juin. He is born on June 23. He was born on June 23, ok? On a bien toujours le sujet il, l'auxiliaire être il est, et le participe passé né, c'est le participe passé du verbe naître. When was he born? Le 23 juin. Très bien. And finally, on a les verbes pronominaux, Okay, if you remember, you should have seen this before, so I don't review what are les verbes pronominaux. We're not in A1 level right now. So les verbes pronominaux, you know that they use this pronom right here. And by default, with passé composé, every verb pronominal is always with être. Always 100%, no exception. Donc on a bien ici le sujet je, le pronom me qui va avec le participe passé laver, parce que le verbe pronominal c'est se laver, l'auxiliaire in between, je me suis lavé, quand? Ce matin. Je me suis lavé ce matin. Très bien. Now, a quick word about le participe passé. Pour les verbes du premier groupe, so the verbs ending in ER, you know that it's very easy. You just replace the ending with et. Just like manger becomes manger et. Very easy. Pour les verbes du deuxième groupe, so easy as well, right? Les verbes en IR terminant I. J'ai fini. Ok, on a bien le sujet, je, l'auxiliaire ici c'est avoir, et le participe passé du verbe finir, j'ai fini. I have finished. I am done. Pour les verbes du troisième groupe, I don't review this because you know that they are irregular. Okay, you have many different kind of participe passé, but you've seen this before, so there's no point in reviewing this right now. You should know this. Huh? Now, quick word about l'accord entre l'auxiliaire et le participe passé, which is always very tricky. So, just a reminder of the rule. When you use l'auxiliaire avoir, you have to check what is the COD of the verb. Remember, COD is when you ask the question like what or who about the verb. Here the verb is écrit. So, to write. J'ai écrit. On a bien le sujet, je, l'auxiliaire avoir, le participe passé écrit. So, j'ai écrit. To find the COD, I have to ask the question quoi. J'ai écrit quoi? What do I have written? J'ai écrit quoi? J'ai écrit une lettre. So now I have identified what is the COD. Okay? Une lettre. Now, the rule with avoir is that if the COD is before the verb, then I will make the accord. If it's after the verb, I don't do the accord. This is why I will say j'ai écrit une lettre. Écrit, il n'y a pas d'accord. It's not matching either the sujet or the COD. It's just the neutral way to write le participe passé. Because le COD is after écrit. But now if I'm talking about la lettre que j'ai écrit, the letter that I have written, j'ai écrit quoi? J'ai écrit une lettre. And now you can see that la lettre is before the verb. So I have to match them. And I will write la lettre que j'ai écrite. Parce que la lettre c'est féminin singulier. So I will add E at the end. It could be good to look at more examples, okay? But like I said, you should have studied this before, so this is just a reminder. It's not a course about passé composé, it's a reminder. The rule for être is that you always make the accord now, so very easy, and you do it with the sujet, not with the COD, with the sujet. This is why I will write. Il est sorti. Elle est sortie avec E, because now it's a woman, donc féminin singulier. Nous sommes sortis with S, parce que nous, c'est pluriel. And when I say nous sommes sortis, like we left, we went out, if we is a group of women only, then I will even write sorti, E, S, because now it will be féminin pluriel. Ok? Très bien. That's it for this reminder on passé composé. So what I will ask you to do is just a quick practice exercise. I want you to take your sheet of paper or your notebook, to take your pen, you pause the video here, all right, and you write down these 22 sentences on your notebook while conjugated the verb at the passé composé. There's no trick, there's no trap, you only have to conjugate the verbs at the passé composé tense, okay? This might take you 5 minutes or 10 minutes maybe, so you pause the video and you do it right now. And for this exercise, fair enough, if you need to go online to check the participe passé of a verb, maybe you don't know what is the participe passé of perdre or prendre, you know, for example. It's completely normal, don't worry, it's 100% normal to go check how to write le participe passé of some verb. C'est bon? Let's take a look at the answer. All right, here are the answer. If you have any question, you can ask a question in the comment of this video. I let you check that you have the right answer. There is no trick, no trap here. And I would like you to really take a minute to understand the logic of each sentence. Okay, you shouldn't have a question left unanswered when looking at this. All right? Très bien. Maintenant, quick reminder about imparfait. It will be faster because l'imparfait is way easier than passé composé. As you remember, l'imparfait, we take the root of the verb, for example, marcher. I remove the ER at the end, and I always add the same terminaison. AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. That's it. I could almost stop this chapter here, but we're going to see a bit more detail. But that's very, very easy. Whether it's premier groupe, deuxième groupe, troisième groupe, we always have the same terminaison. Par exemple, je marchais 1 heure par jour. I walked 1 hour a day. Avec mes amis, nous aimions discuter. With my friends, we loved to talk. We loved to discuss. Tu vois bien qu'on a le verbe aimer. I take the root of the verb, I am, and I add for nous, I-O-N-S. Nous aimions. Ok? Très bien. And as you know, pour les verbes du deuxième groupe, it is still the same terminaison, hein, AIS, AIS, AIT, but I have to add this like ISS in front of it. Donc, par exemple, pour le verbe finir, I take the root of the verb, okay, F-I-N, so I remove ER, and I have issions. Isser, 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 issillons, issier, isser. Okay? Nous finissions de discuter très tard. It's like we used to finish talking very late. Okay? Très bien. Pure, it's really, there's no trick here one more time. It's really just applying the grammar rule mathematically. Je choisissais mon plat sur le menu. Ici, choisir, I take the root of the verb and I add ici. Je choisissais mon plat sur le menu. I was choosing my dish on the menu. Once again, there are some irregular verbs, obviously, especially in the third group, but still the terminaisons are always the same. When we talk about verb irrégulier here, some irregular verbs, we're not talking about having different terminaisons suddenly. We're just talking about être, for example, become ET, and then I add the terminaison. Faire become F-A-I-S, for some reason, and then I add the terminaison. So the irregularity is applied on the root of the verb, not on the terminaison. Okay? Quand j'étais petit, j'avais peur du noir et je faisais des cauchemars. When I was young, I was scared of the dark and I was doing a lot of nightmares. I did a lot of nightmares. Ok? Très bien. Quick practice exercise, same exercise as before. I would like you to pause the video right here. You take your pen and paper. You might need, if you want to use a conjugation website, because of some verb irrégulier that you might not know or be sure of, okay? I'm thinking, for example, of those verbs with GER, GIR, for example, that have a special form sometimes. C'est bon? On regarde. Here you go. Once again, you have no trick here. I let you check the answers. And once again, I would like you to really take a minute. You can pause the video if you want. You should actually pause the video to do this. Take a minute to really understand the logic of each sentence and each conjugation, okay? Because at this point, this should be quite easy for you. Like, you know, what I mean is, fair enough if you don't know the word epoch, you can go to a translator and check what epoch means. You can go check what I don't know, like rougir means, for example, these kind of things. But the logic of the sentence should be easy at this point. Okay? Très bien. Now, to our big topic, when to use which, when to use passé composé, and when to use imparfait. So, first of all, about this topic, just like many topics in French, I don't believe that studying it for 1,000 hours on your notebook is the most efficient way to get the difference. I think maybe half of it is studying and practicing, and half of it is actually talking to people, and mostly, more importantly, especially if you struggle, listening to people, and, you know, like by having conversation with people, listening to people when they speak, watching movies, listening to the radio or to songs, or reading books and these kind of things, even if it seems difficult for you, this is really how little by little you get the logic of it. And then it becomes way easier. Actually, maybe studying is more like 20%, and this one is more like 80%, okay? So it is very important for you to be practicing your understanding on a daily basis. By the way, I have a B1, I have A1, A2 and B1 French course on my website with a lot of practice, especially for people like you who want to practice but don't have anyone to talk to, for example. So you have all these very well structured courses for you to be studying by yourself. And on my website, you can also take private classes with me if you want to be able to practice with a teacher, all right? So I let you go check this. It's the first link in the description of the video. Now, long story short, we use passé composé to talk about actions, things that happened in time. So it happened, so now by default it's done, it's finished, and it happened at a precise point in time. Like it's well defined, okay? Imparfait, we don't use it to talk about action that happened at a precise point of time. We use it to talk about things that are diffuse in time, more vaporous, okay? For things that are, not things that happened, but things that are in a way. We're going to look at this right now. So, let's take passé composé right here, okay? J'ai mangé une pomme, it's an action, right? It's something that happened. When I say j'ai mangé une pomme, I can say j'ai mangé une pomme ce matin, hier, à 11h47. It's really a precise action that happened in time. I ate an apple this morning, 27 July at 11 a.m. You know, it's really a precise thing, a precise action. Imparfait, it's more like quand j'étais petite, j'aimais danser. When I was a kid, I used to love dancing. When I was a kid, I loved dancing. You know? It's not an action to be young. It's not something that happened. It's something that was. It's like when I was young, I used to love dancing. You see that when I was young, I used to love dancing. I cannot say that this happened at a precise point in time. It's like diffused in time, in a way. By the way, this is what we call l'imparfait sometimes, le temps du récit. the time, like the conjugation tense of the books, of the stories, because this is how we speak when we tell a story. When I was a little kid, I used to go there, and you know, like this is like story tense, basically. Très bien. So, let's look at passé composé and more precise cases of when to use it. So, like I just said, we use passé composé to talk about something that happened at a point of time in the past. For example, ce matin, j'ai lavé mon chien. This morning, I washed my dog. This is a punctual action that happened at one point of time in the past. No, pendant les vacances, j'ai lavé mon chien. Now you can see that it's a bit different. During the holidays, I washed my dog. During the holiday, it's not really a point of time anymore. During the holiday, it's not like 11 a.m. anymore. It's not a point of time. It's more, it happened in a duration. But first, it's still an action that happened. J'ai lavé mon chien. I washed my dog. And more importantly, it happened during a period of time that is really finite. It's well defined. Pendant les vacances. Les vacances, maybe I can say, okay, from 18th of August to 1st of September, you know. It's still a well-defined context during which a well-defined action happened. Something happened, okay? This is the logic to get here. Pendant les vacances, j'ai lavé mon chien. En novembre, je suis allé à Lille. In November, I went to Lille. This is an action, it's something I did. In November, I went to Lille. It's an action, something that happened in a limited period of time, which is here, en novembre. Okay? Now, what have I done in Lille? Qu'est-ce que j'ai fait? I went to Lille. What have I done there? Je suis allé à Lille. J'ai rencontré mes amis. Nous sommes allés au café. Et nous avons bien rigolé. Now, you can see that all of these are, once again, actions that happened in the past. So we can use also passé composé for this kind of series of actions happening one after the other. I went to Lille, I met my friends, we went to a coffee shop, to a coffee place, and we laughed a lot together, you know? So, passé composé, passé composé, passé composé, passé composé. And je suis allé à Lille is one individual action. J'ai rencontré mes amis is one individual action. Nous avons bien rigolé is one individual action. Okay? It just happened that they are in a row, but it doesn't change the logic of the passé composé. And now, a very, very interesting example. Nous parlions quand le téléphone a sonné. It's like, we were talking when the phone rang. So, what is this here? Nous parlions. Is it passé composé? It's not passé composé anymore, right? What is it? Well, it's imparfait actually. You know, like, tada, suddenly, we are starting to mix imparfait, passé composé. Why is it like this here? Nous parlions. We were talking. You can see that the fact that you were talking, it's not an action, it's something that was. It's a situation that was like this. It's an action to say, okay, suddenly I talked to him. No, it's an action. But if I say we were talking to each other, it's not an action, it's something that was, it's a state, it's the context of a story. It's the context in which, it's a bit annoying, the thing here. It's the context in which a story happened, in which an action happened. So this is why I don't use passé composé. But then, something happened. Le téléphone a sonné. The phone rang. So I use passé composé to talk about a sudden change in a given situation. The given situation here is nous parlions, we were talking, and then a sudden change. Le téléphone a sonné. The phone rang. Un autre exemple. Je dormais et mon père est entré. I was sleeping and my father entered the room. So, I have a given situation. Je dormais. I was sleeping, it's not an action, je dormais. It's a state. It's not something that happened, it's something that was. It was like this, I was sleeping. Et mon père est entré. And suddenly, there's a change in the situation. My father arrived. Okay? No, something important here. I am not saying that to be sleeping, when you use the verb dormir, it's always automatically imparfait. I am not saying this at all. You can also say j'ai dormi. You have to understand in the context of the story, in the context of the sentence, if what I'm talking about, here dormir, is it an action that I did in comparison to other things, or is it a context that was, something that was, like the situation. Okay? Très bien. And as you can see, once again, I use l'imparfait here. So now, let's take a look at imparfait. Well, one way to use l'imparfait is to tell the context of the story, just like here. Je dormais et mon père est entré. I was sleeping. In this context, sleeping is not an action. For example, if I say, I was sleeping and my father entered the room. I was sleeping, je dormais, is the context of the story. It's not an action that I did. But if I said, I went home and I went to sleep. Je suis rentré chez moi et j'ai dormi. No, it's an action. I went home and I went to sleep. It's an action that I did. I decided to go sleeping. So you can see that you really have to understand what's the context of the sentence, the logic of the sentence. Donc, on utilise l'imparfait pour parler du contexte d'une histoire. To tell the context of a story. Okay? During which things can happen. We also use it to explain how things were in the past. Par exemple, quand j'avais 15 ans, je dormais beaucoup. To tell the context of a story and to explain how things were in the past is very similar actually. To be honest, anyway you will see, the difference between these four is very subtle. The four of them kind of mean the same things in a way. Quand j'avais 15 ans, je dormais beaucoup. When I was 15, I used to sleep a lot. Okay? When I was 15 years old. It's like I'm telling the context of the story. It's when I was young, when I was 15, when I was a kid. Quand j'avais 15 ans, je dormais beaucoup. It's how things were in the past. I used to talk a lot. And when I say this, quand j'avais 15 ans, je dormais beaucoup, it kind of sounds like a habit as well, which is great because we use imparfait to talk about habits in the past. Tous les samedis, je dormais jusque 13 heures. Every Saturday, I was sleeping until 1 p.m. It's kind of a habit in time, and it's also like how things were in the past. Okay? For this context, I use l'imparfait, and you can take a minute once again to see the logic of the sentence. Every Saturday, I was sleeping until 1 p.m. It's not an action that's happening. It's not like, yeah, I ate this morning an apple. It's not an action. It's something that was like this in the past. It's a situation. Chaque été, je partais en vacances avec mes amis. It's like, every summer, I was going for holidays with my friends. Chaque été, every summer. It's a habit as well. And finally, I use l'imparfait to describe things, par exemple. À l'époque, nous avions une voiture jaune que Marc conduisait. Il était grand et très gentil. So at the time, we had a yellow car that Mark was driving. He was tall and very nice. Okay? So here I am. In a way here, I'm explaining how things were in the past. I'm telling the context of the story, but I'm also describing things, you know, like the car it was yellow, you know, la voiture était jaune. Nous avions une voiture jaune. Marc était grand et très gentil. He was tall and very nice. You know, to be tall and nice is not an action. It's not something you do. It's something that is. Okay? So this is really the distinction between passé composé et imparfait. La plage était belle, le sable était chaud, il y avait du soleil. The beach was pretty, was beautiful. The sand was warm. There was sun in the sky. There was sun in the sky. Okay? So it's really something like passé composé for something that happened and imparfait for some things that are. Okay? It's a way to conceptualize it in your mind. Okay? Whatever works for you to think about it. So now let's do a few sentences, a few guided exercises to help you, and then I will just throw at you very big, heavy exercises to do at home. Okay? Let's look at this one more time. Je dormais et mon père est entré. You get the logic of the sentence, right? I was sleeping. This is the state that was. And then suddenly something happened, an action. Mon père est entré. We also had this one. Nous parlions quand le téléphone a sonné. We were talking. This was the state, the current state of the situation. When suddenly the phone rang. Something happened. Okay? With regard to this logic, I would like you to conjugate this sentence. Je with the verb manger. Quand ma mère with the verb arriver. So you know that it's something like I was eating when my mom arrived. Okay? One of them will have to be conjugated with l'imparfait, the other with passé composé. It's very easy, obviously. It's almost copy and paste of the previous sentence. But, you know, let's start like this. It's going to get more complicated. Don't worry about this. So you can pause the video here. Don't just say it in your mind. Really pause the video for 2 minutes or 1 minute or 10 seconds and write the sentence on your notebook conjugating the verbs. C'est bon? Ok. Obviously, je mangeais quand ma mère est arrivée. J'utilise l'imparfait. Je mangeais. I was eating when my mom arrived. So this is the state that was, and this is the thing that happened. Très bien. If this sentence is difficult for you, and you struggle to understand the logic here, please don't continue in the video, because this should be, like at this point, this should be okay for you, the logic right here. If the logic is still not okay, you can go back and just rewatch the video, try to focus really, and really analyze the logic of the sentences. But please, from this point onward, only keep watching the video if this sentence right here makes sense to you. No. Avant, mes parents en France, mais un jour, ils en Belgique. Using vivre et déménager. So it's something like before, my parents, they used to live in France, but one day, they moved to Belgium. Once again, very easy, obviously. It's just a starter. Tu peux mettre la vidéo en pause ici, faire l'exercice sur ton cahier. C'est bon? On regarde. Obviously, avant, mes parents vivaient en France, mais un jour, ils ont déménagé en Belgique. One day, no, before, sorry. Before, my parents lived in France, but one day, they moved to Belgium. Okay? Exactly the same logic as everything we've seen before. Everything is the same logic. Now, 3 verbs. I don't help you. So, 2 of them will be one tense and 1 will be another tense. Quand elle, petite, elle, un chien. Un jour, son chien, So it's like, when she was young, she had a dog, and one day, her dog disappeared. C'est bon? I hope you're really doing it seriously like I told you. C'est bon? Quand elle était petite, elle avait un chien. When she was young, she had a dog. It's something that was. It's a state. And one day, son chien a disparu. It's an action. One day, her dog disappeared. Très bien. That's it. Honestly, that's all I can do to explain the logic to you. Now I will let you with big and heavy practice exercises. So, you know, no joke anymore. We will do 2 exercises like this. I think it's quite enough already. So here you have sentences. In brackets, you have le sujet and the verb. You have to decide if you will conjugate the verb at imparfait or passé composé. Okay? The logic is always the same. So you can pause the video here. You can take, you know, maybe 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes to do this. Really take the time to do it seriously. So you pause the video, take your notebook, write down the whole sentences on your notebook, conjugating the verbs. And if you need to use a translator to check the few words, for example, trompette, illisible, full, poumon, etc. Maybe these are words that you don't know, you can check the translations. And if you need to use a conjugation website to check the participe passé, for example, of some verbs, you can also. You are allowed to do this. C'est bon? Done? Let's go. Il y a un mois, j'ai décidé de partir en voyage. Comme mes parents étaient malades, ils sont restés à la maison. Je suis donc parti seul. Le soleil brillait quand j'ai pris le train. J'avais choisi une ville en Pologne, la ville semblait vide, tout restait silencieux. Le plan de la ville était illisible, je me sentais seul. Soudain, un coup de trompette a retenti, puis une foule de gens est apparue en dansant. Certains jonglaient, d'autres chantaient à plein poumon. J'ai réalisé que c'était la fête de la ville. Je cherchais mon appareil photo quand quelqu'un a crié mon nom. C'était mon professeur de musique. Il passait tous les ans ses vacances dans cette ville. You can pause the video here and really try to understand the logic of each sentence. There's a logical reason why the verbs at imparfait are at imparfait and the ones at passé composé are at passé composé. There is a logic to this and we have been studying this logic. So, I'm not saying that you should have 100% good answers, but I'm saying that you should be able to understand why this is as it is. Okay? C'est bon? Exercise number 2. This is exactly the same exercise that you have to do. C'est bon? If you did the first one seriously, then you really tried to get the logic of each sentence, then this one should be way easier, I think. Let's go? C'est parti. Lorsque je suis arrivé à Tokyo, il faisait chaud. Hier, nous sommes allés au cinéma. Le film était très bien, j'ai adoré. Jacques voulait acheter des pommes au supermarché, mais le magasin était fermé. Quand j'étais enfant, j'avais un chien, il s'appelait Léon. Elle est restée à la maison toute la journée parce qu'elle était malade. Avant, les gens se déplaçaient à cheval. Il fallait plusieurs jours pour traverser la France. Quand je suis arrivé au bureau ce matin à 9h10, tout le monde travaillait déjà. Pierre allait au judo tous les samedis. Un jour, il a oublié son kimono. Il a dû rentrer à la maison, le chercher. Ce matin, je prenais mon bain quand le facteur a sonné à la porte. Quand la grève a commencé jeudi, tous les trains étaient en retard. Ça va? Très bien. That's it. That's it for today. This was quite a big topic. Like I told you, you shouldn't try to study this 100% as a case study on paper. A big part of being more comfortable in making the difference between imparfait and passé composé will come to you by having conversation with French people, listening to French people speaking, listening to French movies, to French songs, reading things in French, anything, and little by little you will really get the logic in your instinct, in your mind of the whole thing. Okay, this is also very important with regard with the future. I think, I'm getting tired, I think. I'm struggling to make sentences in English. Okay, what I wanted to say is that in the future, we're going to see a new tense of the past, and we're going to juggle between the three of them. So if you already struggle between passé composé and imparfait, it will be a nightmare for you in the future. This is why this is so important. And as a last reminder, you know that you can go check the link in the description to check out my website. I have A1, A2, and B1 full structured French courses. And you can also request, you can book a free call to talk to me about your objectives and your plan learning French, to schedule private classes for you to progress faster in French. Okay? Je te dis bisous mon pote, à bientôt, porte-toi bien. There were huge storms in France recently with a lot of, how you say this in English? Inondation, when the water level rises and the houses of people are literally underwater. People have to move their stuff and everything. It's quite terrible. I was lucky enough to not be in a city where this happened, but quite a lot of people I know as well have their house damaged. So I don't know from where in the world you watch this video, but I hope you're safe and everything. Take care, bisous et à bientôt mon pote.